They say hindsight is 20/20, but when you're in love, or when you're being told that you are, it's amazing what you'll overlook just to keep the fantasy alive. So, after he pulled that whole scene on the balcony, pretending he was about to jump, I honestly didn't know what to think. Part of me knew something was off, but the other part? The bigger part? It just wanted to believe he needed me. Like maybe I was the one who could finally make him feel safe. Whole. Loved. It wasn't long after that moment that he asked me to marry him. We were only a few months into dating, but it felt like a year. That's how intense everything was. Every day, every moment, we were always together until I had to get back home before curfew. He made me feel like I was the only girl, the only woman in the world. I felt special and chosen, and I didn't want to lose that. I said yes, and honestly, I wanted to be married young. He said he prayed about it and heard God say I was his wife, that we'd start a church together. Now, entering college as a young Christian girl, that was the ultimate dream in our denomination. Marrying a preacher? That meant purpose and prestige. Everyone admired the pastor's wife, and I wanted to believe it was God. It made sense to me. After all, his father was a preacher too, even though he used to beat him so badly that he still had scars on his body as an adult. He told me about it right after a few dates, and I remember thinking, wow, he's opening up to me. He trusts me. I didn't realize it then, but that was one of the first major red flags. He unloaded deep trauma onto me way too soon, but I didn't know about trauma dumping back then. All I knew was, this poor boy had been through hell and just wanted to be loved. And I was gonna be the one to love him through it. Looking back, I can see how quickly things moved. And how clever he was about it. He didn't want a long engagement. Said he wanted to honor God by avoiding temptation. But here's the thing. When we were alone at his place, it always felt like he was trying to go there. And I mean every time. But if I stopped short, he'd say,
"I'm sorry. I don't want this to go too far. I respect you too much."
And I believed him. He liked to sit close and look into each other's eyes to make a deep connection and absorb each other's energy. It was a way to experience each other on another level. Very emotional and sensual. I felt something wet on my face, and he said he felt so deeply for me in those moments that he was moved to tears as he wiped his face. I recognize now that it was a manipulative way of quickly forcing a bond between us that should have happened organically, but did not. Anyway, I asked him if he had asked my father for my hand in marriage. That was really important to me. I mean, yes, I was technically an adult, but I'm also a traditional girl. That moment mattered. But he said it wasn't necessary, that I was an adult and could make my own decisions. And while that's technically true, it didn't sit right. And my dad? He was livid. He felt totally disrespected. To smooth things over, my fiancé called him. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Hey, what's up, man?" No, sir. No, mister. No respect. No real attempt to make peace. My dad let me know after that phone call just how disgusted he was. And when I told my fiancé, he just brushed it off. Said my dad didn't like him because he wasn't who my father would have picked for me. Then he looked at me and said,
"You just need to be an adult and make your own decisions. I love you. I want to be with you. And that's all that matters."
And once again, I believed him. A few days later, I was picking him up because, he still doesn't have a car. So I drove us to go tell his family about the engagement. I noticed he was wearing brown shoes and a black belt. I asked, "Do you have a brown belt to match your shoes?" He brushed it off, saying fashion rules were dumb, just stupid things random people made up. He was fine, and he could wear whatever he wanted to wear. Well, when we got to his family's house, a family member took one look at him and laughed about his outfit, just like I tried to warn him. And someone turned to me and said, "Why did you let him leave the house like that?" I said, "I tried to tell him." That's all it took. He exploded, right there in front of his whole family, yelling, furious. That was the first time I really saw it, what I now know is narcissistic rage. We left early, and the car ride home was even worse. He looked at me and said,
Why aren't you supporting me?
"What do you mean? I told you before we left that you should change." And he snapped.
You're supposed to support me no matter what. You should have said that's my fiancé and he looks good in whatever he has on. Not agree with them.
He said I was against him, not with him. And his clenched teeth, flared nostrils, yelling and anger in his voice made me apologize profusely. I just wanted him to calm down. Finally, he did. The next day, he called me like nothing happened. And I felt relieved. Relieved that he had forgiven me, that he was no longer angry. That cycle would repeat so many times in our relationship. Anger, accusations, apologies, then charm. He was so charming. And he always bragged about how honest he was. He said I could trust him with anything. That even if it hurt, he'd rather tell me the truth than let me walk around in ignorance. And that was somehow attractive. At the time, I saw that as integrity. Even still, things felt like they were moving too fast. He wanted to get married the next month, and I wanted to slow down, maybe postpone the wedding. But he was caring and considerate. He asked what was stopping me. I said, I don't have time to plan. He said,
We can just have a small ceremony. Just family and close friends. If word gets out that I'm getting married, my ex is just crazy enough to show up and start a scene. I think she's still in love with me. We can have a bigger ceremony later if you want.
But I still need time to get decorations, venue, and everything. But he did not want to wait.
You don't have to do anything. I'll take care of everything.
And he did. He found the venue, the decorations, the cake, the preacher. He even came with me to pick out my dress. At the time, I thought he was concerned about my well-being. Now, I realize it was about control. He wanted to rush me down the aisle before his mask slipped even further than it already did. The day of the wedding, my best friend met me in the bridal suite. She asked, "Are you in love?" And I said yes. She was so happy for me, but within myself, my heart still had reservations. And that wasn't the last time I'd feel unsure. The very next red flag would leave me bleeding, literally. To hear more of my story, please subscribe for the next video. Like and share with someone you care about. Let me know in the comments, what were the red flags that were there from the beginning?